Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump are set to meet in Alaska this Friday, with the war in Ukraine at the top of the agenda. Trump's decision to meet Putin without Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has raised concerns in Ukraine and Europe that it could pressure Ukraine into making concessions.
There'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody, to the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad. But it's very complex because you have lines that are very uneven, and there'll be some swapping, there'll be some changes in land, and the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine. But they've taken some very prime territory. They've taken largely ocean, in real estate we call it oceanfront property. That's always the most valuable property. If you're in a lake, a river, or an ocean, it's always the best property. Well, Ukraine, a lot of people don't know that Ukraine was largely 1,000 miles of ocean. That's gone. Other than one small area, Odessa, it's a small area. There's just a little bit of water left. So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now, I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end.
According to reports, Moscow is seeking international legal recognition of its annexation of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula in 2014 and 4 regions in 2022, as well as guarantees that Ukraine will not join NATO and that no Western troops will be stationed there.
It's a tricky issue. It's unlikely to be resolved in one meeting, especially because Russia has spilled a lot of blood and effort, and 3 years they've had the same 3 demands. One, that Ukraine should be a neutral country, it should not be part of NATO. Is there any agreement on that? That Ukraine has to say, and they have not said it. And Europe also wants them to be part of NATO. So there can be no compromise on that. Second, the ethnic minorities in Ukraine, the Russian minorities whose rights have been taken away, they don't have a right to their language, to their church, to their culture. That has to be restored. Third, the territories of the Donbas area, that is right on the border of Russia and Ukraine, which Russia has taken over, mainly Zaporozhye, Donetsk, Luhansk, and in Donbas, and earlier in Crimea, that Russia is not willing to part with.
Zelenskyy has stood firm on his positions, agreeing to a ceasefire proposed by Trump, while reaffirming the country's refusal to cede any territory or abandon its goal of NATO membership.
Sadly, nothing much is going to come out of this meeting in Alaska. It will be very good for everyone, but as long as, or at least if they continue to have talks, this be the first, and then they have proper negotiating teams which sort out all the issues, including the territorial exchange, whatever there has to be, and ensure the neutrality of Ukraine, and also have a permanent dialogue with Russia and have good relations with Russia. I think it will be a very big step, that itself, even though the issue of Ukraine is not going to be fully sorted out.
European Union leaders have urged Trump to defend their security interests at his summit with Putin later this week over the war in Ukraine.